Hello again, welcome back to our tutorial series, and this time we are going to talk a bit about naval warfare. I have put a small fleet into position here, and the English have been able to get to equal technologies as I have, which will make it a little fair. And the first thing to know about naval warfare is that before you get to navigation, naval warfare is really difficult because you have to work with units like the trireme, which is a naval melee unit, and the galleass, a naval ranged unit. Now, both of these units can only go into coastal tiles. They cannot move into ocean tiles, so you are not only restricted with a low movement, low strength unit, but you have very high restrictions on your movement. So having to stay near the coast means you always have problems lining up your ships. For example, if you had several galleass lying outside of range here, you would need to move them into position here, all in vulnerable range of the city, before you could actually move on to start attacking it. Also, you will only have 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles from which to attack, and that makes it very hard. So I usually wait until frigates, which are coincidentally a very strong unit, before you go do naval warfare. That doesn't mean you can't build galleass and XP them up, but you'll have quite a bit of trouble taking cities with them. Perhaps mostly because of the movement restrictions, whereas the frigate could travel directly across oceans. So, very important, the ranged units, as on land units, can't take cities, they can only fire on them. The upgrade path is similar. The galleass upgrades into a frigate, which then upgrades into a battleship. It's a long line and they stay relevant for very long periods of time. There is also the missile cruiser here, but that's very late in the game. So what's important with naval warfare? Mostly this is about first strike abilities, and additionally to that you have to have superior numbers, or well, superior damage output. Whenever movement is not an issue and positioning is not an issue, it's just a matter of making good exchanges. So kill their units and move away your own damaged units out of range of them. That's pretty much all it comes down to. The upgrade path for frigates is usually Bombard 1, Bombard 2, and then you can get range, which means 3 range, which keeps you out of city range. That's very good for the frigate. The battleship already has range 3, so for that the upgrade path is Bombard 1, 2, 3, and then logistics. Logistics very powerful for naval units, as they have naturally high move. So for example, you could move 2 times, shoot twice, and then move 2 tiles back, which makes things very good. So that's a high priority to get. Now we'll start the war with England.
Hello again.
And that means that we can move this one up. We'll start by taking out some of their units. As you can see, this is mostly the same as usual. Ships also have zone of control, much the same like melee units, so you can get caught in restricted movement areas Let's see what the English do to us. That's quite a lot of damage. And they sink our boat. So as you can see, the exchange of losses is usually going to be something like that. There is limited strategy involved, and that stays the same once you get submarines and battleships. Pretty much as long as you get superior numbers and the initiative, you are going to be fine. But should you lose one or both of those things, then you could be in a lot of trouble. Here we go. Removing their potential damage output first is always the priority. That should follow logically from what I just said. Now they only have their city to shoot at my boats. Keeping them alive is a pretty high priority. You can pillage coastal resources. If this fish was worked, I could pillage it for some extra health and gold. Unfortunately, it's not inside their territory. And now we start pounding on London. As you can see, the frigates are very powerful against cities of this strength, but even against stronger cities they will do very well, especially when they get a little bit of XP.
Deutschland ist
To make sure that I can actually attack the city, I will have to clear one of these coastal tiles. That's not important. So I'll move my ship here and this one there. And we can easily take the rest of the health out with our attack of the now. And London should be ours. Here we go. And just like you might already expect, these ships are also very strong at attacking inland units. And this is why I choose to go for bombard. It gives you plus 33% damage against land units, not against cities, but against land units is more than good enough. And if I can show you another frigate, I'll just buy an extra one. If you would go for anti-naval, you would only get 15% combat bonus, so even with upgrades it would barely do more against naval units. And you will not be fighting naval units very often. So 99% of the time my naval units will bombard. Of course, when I get to refrigeration, my submarines will be focusing on damaging naval units as they can't do anything else. But for the regular ranged ships, I think Bombard is definitely almost always the best choice. Now, I will show you yet another thing that you might be finding useful. Let me just get through this and get back at my next video. As you can see,
Es wäre in eurem
yes. Naval units are extremely powerful if you can use them properly. They are much more powerful than land units because of the movement. Having no movement restrictions means that they can move really quickly. They could be near York in only 2 turns, which is just really good. And you can take an entire coastline out in no time.
It is well.
In addition, they can double up as excellent defensive units, so that's even better. What you can do is you can position a ship in a city on the coast, and then it can fire 2 tiles away, so it could reach all of these up to there, and with 3 range it could reach even further. So all these tiles will be in its range, and it will be protected from counterattacks. So that's one thing that you can often do to defend a city. Place a boat in there, they can't attack it, they have to go through the city's health, and it can do massive damage to everything in the neighborhood. And a few boats behind it and on the side can also be a great benefit. As you can see, these units melt away like snow from the sun when you attack them. And that is what makes boats great, because only ranged units could attack them, and even then their attacks are not very strong. So that's something that's very useful about naval warfare. I think that about sums it up. We might come back to that once we have submarines and battleships, but for now this will do.